Hi, the new Fujifilm X-T50 is a smaller, lighter version of the X-T5, but there are some key differences, so we're going to talk about those in this video.
Yes, so as you say, the two cameras are actually very similar in terms of a lot of their core specs, and the main differences are down to aspects of the body design and handling, and the X-T5 is just a rather higher-end camera. So you have on this camera full weather sealing, dual card slots, bigger battery, bigger viewfinder. It's just got rather higher end aspirations, but of course you've got to pay more money for that.
And you've got a weight and size penalty as well.
Yeah, so this is smaller and lighter, easier to carry around, and it's obviously going to be rather cheaper.
Let's take a closer look at the sort of main differences. Physically, this is still not a huge camera, is it, the X-T5?
No, it's not a big camera. It is, for example, considerably smaller than the Nikon ZF, which is the full frame camera that it resembles. But this is even smaller, it's even easier to carry around. It comes with a smaller battery, so this is the NPW126 battery, whereas this one's got an NPW235 in it. And that means that you can expect to get longer battery life out of the X-T5. This also only has a single card slot in the same place as the battery, whereas this has got dual card slots. If we look at the viewfinders, we can see that the two cameras are rather different. This has got a much bigger viewfinder. It's higher resolution. It's 3.69 million dots and 0.8 times magnification. This is 2.36 million dots, and it is 0.63 times magnification. So that's quite a big difference in usability.
So if you're a spectacles wearer, I guess that's another, you do notice the benefit with an X-T5.
I think you will notice the benefit no matter who you are with an X-T5, but particularly if you wear spectacles, you can see just that much better. You've got a much bigger eye cup, so you won't be swamped by any light coming in from the side. But then there are things that you get with the X-T50 that you don't get with the X-T5. You get the built-in pop-up flash, which is quite a nice thing to have. And you get this film simulation dial, which we really like. It's a very engaging way of letting you play with the Fujifilm film simulations, which are one of the best things about the brand's cameras.
I guess, on the other hand, you haven't got an ISO dial on the front. You've got a film simulation instead, but I tend to use auto ISO a lot of the time. So
yeah, exactly. And that might just be a nicer way to be creative for certain people. Also on the back, you've only got a two-way tilt screen on this camera, so it doesn't tilt out for shooting in portrait format like the X-T5 does. But a lot of the time, that'll work very well.
If you're obviously getting a camera from a travel point of view, this is a great little travel camera, isn't it? This is still good, but this is something even more attractive.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, particularly if you're going somewhere where you're expecting the weather to be good, or you go out shooting in the rain, which is perfectly sensible, then this is going to be a fantastic little camera. You've got a lot of nice small Fujifilm lenses. You've got the little small primes. It's going to be brilliant for travel.
So how do the specifications compare?
So broadly speaking, they're actually really very similar. They have the same sensor, 40 megapixel sensor. They've got the same ISO range. They have the same video capabilities, 6.2K, the highest resolution. The X-T5 will shoot a bit faster. So this maxes out at 8 frames per second. The X-T5 will go quicker. But again, that's quite niche. That's not something which all that many users are going to use a lot of the time.
I guess for a lot of people, the built-in flash is more useful than the drive mode, fast drive mode.
Quite possibly, yeah. Gives you just that little extra bit of blip of fill-in if you're shooting outside in bright sunlight. And Fujifilm's flash metering is great, so it is genuinely useful. For a lot of cameras, a built-in flash is a bit sort of wasted, but really not here.
So as a kit, the X-T50 comes with a new lens, doesn't it?
Yes, so one of the lens options will be this new 16 to 50mm f2.8 to 4.8 lens. It looks like a very nice kit lens. It's essentially a replacement for the old 18 to 55mm f2.8 to 4. It's wider, it's weather sealed, but it's a little bit slower in terms of maximum aperture.
But they kept the size the same, which is which is great.
Again, brilliant for travel.
I'm assuming you'll be able to buy an X-T5 with that lens if you wanted to, or you could just buy the body and buy that lens.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what comes as kits coming up, but I'd imagine that this bundle with the 18-55 may disappear and the 16-50 will take its place.
So if you're a videographer and you want to use the Fuji system, or at least if video is going to be part of your repertoire, how do they compare there?
Well, on the face of it, these look pretty similar. They have got, from what we can see, very similar video recording specs. They've both got in-body stabilization. So they're likely to be more or less the same. If you're serious about video, you probably want to go to a higher-end model in Fujifilm's range, the X-H2S or the X-H2, but they'll both be very competent.
So how does the autofocus compare between these cameras?
Well, it looks like they've got pretty much exactly the same system on there. They both have the same sensor with phase detection autofocus. They've both got the same processor inside, and they both have the same subject recognition system. So both cameras can recognize humans, animals, vehicles, and track them as they move around the frame. And it's generally a pretty effective system, maybe not as effective as some of the other manufacturers, but viewed on its own, it works really well.
So we've got two cameras which are superficially very similar in terms of specification. There's just obviously one's a bit cheaper, one's a bit more expensive, but the more expensive one has a few extra features, more professional features, if you want that. Whereas the X-T50 is more of a travel camera, I guess.
Yeah, it's a smaller, more affordable model. It will be a really lovely camera for a lot of people, and it will have a perfectly good spec sheet for a huge number of users.
So I hope you enjoyed this and found it useful. Let us know what you think of the X-T50 in the comments. Is it a camera that appeals to you? Is it something that you would choose, for example, over the X-T5? If you enjoyed the video, please press like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you don't already do so.